A young Ionian began to sing. It was a lilting, haunting melody, a tune that no living thing should be able to make. Erath's footing slipped as the earth shook. Tiny things appeared up from the ground, like seedlings but pulsing with a sickly intermittent unlight. He realized after a moment that they were fingers. Soon hands emerged, arms bursting through the soil, insubstantial silhouettes of ragged men and women clawed their way up from below.
The dead here are not at peace, and you will join them.
The singer's eyes were closed, the lids twitching as he wept blood. Trickles of ruby issued from his nose, ears and lips as he stood transfixed and dodged. The youth continued to sing, and more pale phantoms clawed their way up from the earth. Rain and blood turned the ground to mire. The dead were massing, dredged back into being by that hellish melody. Erath recoiled, sensing that even this Ionian skin would condemn the evil they were unleashing. We just started with my favorite, a fragment from Sisterhood of War, a story in which 5 Noxian soldiers journey through Ionia seeking Riven. This small part shows how the Nabori Brotherhood are not only tough guys with blades and muscle, but also have mages capable of doing pretty dark metal stuff. The next one is also pretty badass. Master Akusho forced me to meditate on a spider web as a boy. Then, after 3 days, he told me, "Beetles are heavy and armored. They live because they are born to survive. The web cannot hold them. Moths die because they were not born for this. Their struggles succeed only in binding them quicker and bringing greater suffering, before the spider comes." Then, seeing my displeasure, Master Akusho asked me, in my 3 days of meditation, how many insects had I helped escape. "None," I responded, because I had killed a spider the first day. Whatever the cost, today, Kada Jin dies. This is a piece from another must-read, Zed's comic, as you get to understand why Zed acts the way he does while witnessing the horrors of Jin's performances. This short tale is especially iconic for me, and it says a lot about him. Now, it's time to discover Ionia's ancient history with this one. 10 giants, each the size of a small mountain, stood before him, holding massive weapons. Ji turned around, only to be greeted by a sea of faces.
"You called us the Vaistai Sairei. We were the victors of this battle."
"How could you possibly have won against these monsters?" 10 elders emerged from their ranks. One slammed her hands down on the ground, and the whole valley shook as a fissure tore towards the giants. Some began to dance as others sat cross-legged. Thunder roared as lightning flashed across the sky. "What do you see now? Is this a strength?" "Yes, this is a strength."
"Yet we are equipped with neither sturdy armor nor powerful weapons. Where do you see strength?"
"You are calling storms and parting the earth itself. If that's not strength, what is?" "You asked me how one could win in a battle against these monsters. The question should be, how will these giants contend with the divine powers that created this very land?" Poetry with a Blade tells the story of how a young Master Ji begins to understand the Guju style while exploring one of the most mystical places in the whole Ionia. I just love the last line the Vaistai Sairei tells Ji. But now, let's check the last one, which feels like something that could happen in the future Runeterra MMORPG. Kalan stood upon the battlements of Phylor. It was a dark, moonless night, but he saw as clearly as if it were daylight, the pupils of his feline eyes fully dilated. Kalan was Vastaya, but the armor he wore was Noxian Dark Iron. Some called him a traitor, but he didn't care. What they thought didn't matter. Why was he here? It was a question he saw in the eyes of his subordinates every day. The answer was simple. He remained here to keep watch over her. 9 dark-clad figures emerged from the sea, unseen and as silent as death. They were the last remaining warriors who had served here at the fortress of Phylor before the Noxians had wrested it from them. From shadow to shadow they darted, like specters, until they reached the first wall. Hugging the darkness, they remained utterly motionless as a patrol marched by, oblivious to the 9 invisible Ionians crouched mere feet away. Then they leapt among the enemy, and the 4 guards were killed before a single one drew a blade. This was the beginning of the Dreaming Pool, the story of how a group of Ionians raided the fortress of Phylor in an attempt to find Syndra. The atmosphere of this story is so good, and the end has a couple of twists that makes it even better. These were 4 of my favorite moments in Ionian lore. If you like them, the complete stories are linked in the description, and if this were not enough for you, other stories I would recommend are True Neutral, Piece of Shadow Cake, and Stains on a Name. Really good stuff. Did any of the stories in this video surprise you? What was the one you liked the most? Tell me all your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, subscribe for more and check these others about Ionian lore. Thanks for watching!